right, guys, welcome to the IXO show, the Institutional Engagement and Accountability Tour. Guys, institutions say they care about equity, about access, about diversity. Well, here's the question. Are they funding it? Are they hiring from the communities they claim to serve? Are they opening real doors to capital and careers? What I've done is built this accountability triad, right? Excuse me. The Bridge to Life Foundation, it's on the ground. We're using our life, our experience to deliver services to people that need it the most. Literacy, investment, their futures, their education, their employment. Revaluing America, the book, right here, right? This is our framework. This is the conversation, and we have the accountability tour right here in the public square to make sure we get real answers. Because if you're not showing up for communities, how are people ever supposed to move from struggle to access, from paycheck to capital? See, I'm not here to beg for meetings. I'm here because institutions need me. I've sat in the rooms. I know what's missing, and I've built the model to fix it. I am the bridge between the community they want credibility with and the execution they can't figure out. Now, some institutions, they may not get it right away, but the ones who do will see that I'm the future of institutional stewardship. All right, guys, like we said, we got the Bridge to Life Foundation popping off, guys. What good would the Institutional Accountability Tour be without institutional accountability? Right here, we have the Bridge to Life Foundation. It's going to be so big, so much happening, guys. It's community facing. We got direct programs in literacy, workforce development, re-entry, rehabilitation, financial education, and employment and empowerment, guys. We are not just critiquing institutions. We are building solutions, guys, doing the work at the ground level. Where are our institutions? That's what we need to be asking, guys. Right? Like I said, we got the book. We got Revaluing America, which is our framework, our intellectual reason why we're doing this, our thought leadership. And it seeks to reframe the imbalance between capital, which has been protected, and labor or execution, which has been neglected, guys. Labor has been severely undervalued, and we need to right the ship, right? The book is a narrative, and it is the intellectual reason and framework, and ultimately the high ground that we're taking, guys. This isn't just an opinion. This is a framework for how we rebuild America, guys. And also, obviously, we have this show every day, every single day, the Institutional Engagement Accountability Tour, guys. We are putting pressure on these institutions and providing visibility to this problem, guys. We are going to be making direct calls, having meetings, and providing video documentation of everything that we talk about, guys. We are going to be putting institutions to the test, forcing them to respond or be seen as ducking accountability. And that's what the tour is about, guys. We are engaging. We want to engage with them. Of course, we do. All right. And that's what we want to create, is this unignorable presence covering all lanes. We're serving with the Bridge to Life Foundation. Our narrative is in the book, Revaluing America, and our leverage will be in doing this on live TV, guys. Join me right now. All right. We will not let the institution simply dismiss us as some activist or author or just some nonprofit dude. I'm all three. We're going to be working on it, guys. Listen, accountability will meet execution, and execution is equity. Guys, we have to think about what real-time engagement with these institutions means, these universities, these nonprofits, corporations, these municipalities. All right. We want to engage. We want to partner. We want to work with you, guys. That is the most important thing about what we're doing. We want to work with you. We want to be engaged with you as we help you deliver on the execution that is so desperately needed from the perspective of the community that you serve and the people that you work with and for, or the work for and with you. It's so critically important for us to engage with institutions in the most effective, fair, and balanced way, guys. For 20 years, I worked inside of the endowment and foundation investment business, guys. And I was a outsourced chief investment officer. I sat in the rooms, I sat in these offices, I sat across the tables from key decision makers at these institutions. And I know what gets said and I know what doesn't get said. I know what gets done at these levels and what doesn't get done. And today we're going to be calling these institutions directly, guys, because they don't just manage money, they set the tone for labor, for capital, and community across this great country. And the question is, who has access to those institutions? And where are those institutions putting their focus, their energy, their wealth, their attention? Institutions love to make statements. They say they care about equity. They say they care about diversity. They say they care about community. But here's the real question. Are they funding it? Are they hiring from the communities they claim to serve? Are they creating real access to capital? Do you know how much capital a community can gain to stand to benefit from an institution? Again, I love to use the University of Pennsylvania, one of the largest institutions in our nation, right here in our backyard. I grew up right in that community. They have a $25 billion endowment. They spend $5 billion each year, guys. I am always taken aback and staggered by how much money they spend each year. You think about $5 billion they spend each year. Who are they spending that $5 billion with? Companies, people, employees, seminars, contracts. But each year they spend $5 billion. And we have to think about, how are we getting a piece of that? Are we accessing that? Are we able to access that $5 billion that they spend? Their budget is $5 billion every year. And that's just one school. So they have $25 billion in endowment and they spend $5 billion each year. And we don't have access to that money. Why are we not getting contracts? And that's just one institution. The University of Pennsylvania is just only one institution. Imagine, I looked up the Penn State University spends $8.5 to $9 billion each year. They have a $5 billion endowment. So the question is, guys, we are doing it wrong if we're not getting a piece of that pie that the institution's spending. We didn't get into government spending yet. You have state, local, federal government spending that happens every single day. We have to understand how to get a piece of that, and we have to force them to engage with us. That's why I created the IXO, guys. In 2010, the outsourced CIO model, or Chief Investment Officer model, was still brand new. Most institutions didn't understand it. Most of them resisted it. I was on the road traveling the country, Houston, Texas, Austin, Texas, all over the state of Kentucky, all over the state of Oklahoma, talking about why it worked and why it should be implemented. At the time, it was hard. People weren't willing to change. And I remember thinking, will this ever take hold? But less than 10 years later, the OCIO model became the industry standard. Every institution now recognizes that outsourcing capital stewardship is normal, expected, and even necessary. That's exactly how I feel with the IXO model. It's new. It feels hard. Institutions don't quite know what to make of it. But just like the OCIO model solved the gap in capital management, the IXO model solves the gap in execution management. It's the next natural evolution. So when I say IXO is the future, guys, I don't say it lightly. I've been in this cycle before. I think IXO is going to be the next industry standard, right? And the reason why, guys, think about this. This is why we need access. You could live right next door to a $1 billion institution and never access $1 from them. Not in services, not in contracts, not in access or leverage. And you know why it's our business? They're a tax exempt organization. And the fact that they're a tax exempt organization and control so many dollars makes it the public's business to understand what's going on there. And there is an access gap because I looked at the organization, I looked at Penn, I looked at Temple, I looked at Villanova. I don't know any of those people on the board, those names. I don't know them, right? There's no network there for me. So, of course, I'm not involved in the decision-making process, even at my alma mater at Temple and LaSalle. We should look at LaSalle's board, right? I grew up in Philadelphia in Penn's shadow. I don't know if Penn ever contributed $1 to my growth and development. I mean, I don't know if they owe me anything, but I think they do at some level. We'll talk about that as well. And institutionally, I think about, guys, if you knew how much money was sitting in these institutions, you'd probably start a show to talk about it too. I'm telling you, right? One funded entrepreneur can employ a whole block of people, right? But entrepreneurs are stuck without funding, and institutions sit on hordes and goobs and gobs of capital, right? The multiplier effect when capital actually reaches community builders is profound. It's prodigious. It's legendary. And we need to help everybody understand and educate everybody on economics so that we can start to understand what is happening in our world, because we don't ever talk about things from a real perspective. We talk about them in sound bites and in concerts and in song. But if we really started to help people understand the economics of what they're dealing with every day, I think they'd start making different decisions. And I think they demand more from their politicians. And I think they would realize that their politicians probably don't understand economics. See, that's why we need to be educated. Because at minimum, you know what education does at the minimum? It identifies somebody who's not serious. It helps you. You don't have to know the subject matter like an expert, but it helps you understand who doesn't understand it like an expert. That's what we're missing in America, and we've been dumbed down for too long that we don't understand when somebody doesn't understand. That to me is the easiest thing. You have politicians right now that don't understand economics. Okay, and then if they had the answer, they would say, well, their team does. You believe that? Okay, then why can't we elect the team member that understands it? Like, why can't the person on the position be the one who understands it? They don't have real answers. We should make these people answer real questions, because these are real things that impact our lives. We don't even make them debate anymore, and even the debates are a circus, right? Thank God for the debate, because if we didn't have a debate, no one would know Joe Biden's condition, still to this day probably. But we have to make these people answer questions on live TV if they want to represent our interest, right? That's what we truly need, guys. Wow. These discussions can get going. Listen, guys, I want you to understand it, right? We have to make institutions prove they care, because institutions say they care, right? Why do they say they care if they don't have to say they care? They say they care because they have to say it. Now we have to make them mean it, right? Because they can easily hide behind the lack of execution. This is what they always do, guys. They always hide behind the lack of execution. Oh, it's too tough to every time. No, IXO offers them the opportunity to do that. And I believe, see, I'm an optimist. I'm not a cynic. I'm a skeptic. So you got to have two minds in this in a way, right? Part of me understands human nature and behavior, but I don't believe it to be true. I just think it's the byproduct of opportunity and inertia, right? It's not that people don't want to be helpful. It's that being helpful causes discomfort and strain and strife if you don't create the container for them to do it easily. If you do, they'd gladly do it. So you have to understand human nature, human behavior. I'm an optimist and a skeptic at the same time. But I always revert back to optimism. That's how I started the nonprofit organization. That's how I continue waking up each day with the zeal and with the energy that I have. Because if I were cynical, I would hate all you people, right? You just get tired of it. But I believe in the human. I believe in the spirit of humanity, in the American spirit. I just believe we need a catalyst. We need something that's inspirational. But the point is, talk is cheap. And here's how we hold institutions accountable. And the triad that we've created is a structural response to the circumstance. Like I said, the Bridge to Life Foundation is on the ground. We're working, helping people. We're talking about literacy, investment, futures, education, and employment. We're talking about so much there. We are talking about revaluing America, which is our intellectual framework. And of course, this show, which is the accountability tour. They all work together, guys, to ultimately hold these institutions accountable for engagement. That's all it is. It's not even accountability like we're going to tear you down. No, we're holding them accountable for engagement. We need engagement, guys. Everyone out here, I get so much money. Listen, wait till you start making money. You're going to realize how much money you don't have. Take it from me, I'll tell you. I made a lot of money in my career. And the more money you make, the more you realize you don't have that much. Listen, there's only a few ways to get money. Let's do a little class here. We got government spending, right? Institutional spending, B2B spending, business to business spending, business to customer spending, and investment. And W-2, you go work for one of the businesses. How else do you think you're going to get money, guys? We have to do business with the government. We have to do business with institutions. All right? That's what we have to understand. And ultimately, execution is equity. All right? And the IXO professionalizes execution as the missing piece. The OCIO is the precedent. IXO is the future. If capital without execution is drift, IXO is the bridge to delivery. All right, guys, listen, that is what I wanted to talk about today. We have so much to discuss on this show. I want you to get involved with what we're talking about. And, you know, the disconnect that we're feeling is that the communities don't have access to these institutions. And I want you to start to think about how that relates to your experience and start to talk about the access gap that we feel that we need to correct. And really understand how power equals access. Institutions operate as if they're community anchors, but most community members can't even reach them. So that's what we want to focus on, guys. Most people don't know what an endowment is. Most people don't know the difference between a foundation and a donor-advised fund, and don't even realize the vast hidden wealth sitting in institutions in their own neighborhoods. All right, so tomorrow we're going to focus on some of these questions. What is an endowment? What is a foundation? What's the difference between a public and private foundation and a donor-advised fund? I want you to start thinking about it. I'm positioning myself as an interpreter to you. I'm from the community that you know and love, but I also have a level of institutional fluency that I want to share with you. And I'm going to translate this so that you can see the invisible wealth that shapes so many lives. All right, guys. So Listen, guys, the IXO exists to make institutions accountable for access. That's what we're doing. That's what we're working on. All right. Not just opening doors for insiders, but ensuring communities have clear lines into leadership and decision making. All right. Stay tuned for more, guys. I can't wait to talk more about this. The real question is, if these institutions claim to serve the communities, then why